Oh my goodness, we actually have news here, and I don't want to cover any of the text, so while you should use it at your checkout, I am going to remove the code Mista for this video. Let's get into the home base report. I'm going to read it from the top down. We're going to get into all the new stuff and starting here. So September 4th is when this season ends. I'm going to skip right ahead and say that that means we should be getting a new home base report in a couple of weeks, somewhere around the end of August, which will most likely be announcing all of the future Halloween stuff. And that does sort of cut ahead to an update I do want to say, and that is, just if you get into the loadout, that does mean that if you are now running Brick and Treat, they haven't announced this in the home base report, but there are new heroes that actually activate it now. So, Archer found Raven, Dyer, Igor, which I think is the smoke bomb guy, and Dusk now all affect the Trick or Treat team perk. So none of this is announced. That's why I'm saying it so early on in the video, but it will be a thing going forward. Raven, Dyer, Igor, and Dusk are all Fortnite Mayor's heroes that affect Trick or Treat, but that is not the focus of today's video. That'll be another topic later on when they formally announce it. It's just in the game right now. Home base report, we discussed changes in grenade perks as of our effort, part of our effort to improve underperforming, underutilized hero perks and abilities. Today we're talking about GOIN Constructor. I'm also going to update, skip ahead real quick here and just say that grenades now had their energy cost back down to 30. Archer was testing this in game. We were unable to find any real change there. All of my complaints about grenades in my previous home base report video, which I'll link down below, had nothing to do with energy costs. So I'm okay, great. I'll take a buff any time of day, but I don't think energy was the concern with grenades there. Let's get into the GOIN Constructor changes. So, GOIN Constructor has always been near and dear to our hearts, but has some serious drawbacks. Namely, the fact that you move very slowly in GOIN Constructor. You can't cancel it, which it gets into. And it does a great amount of damage, but you're slow as a turtle. And that's essentially always been my personal complaint, along with ability cooldowns always being kind of a problem, but yeah, so gather around recruits. We put home-based constructors through the ringer. Today we reveal that the fruits of our labor have made a major impact on the GOIN Constructor hero ability. But before, once you start GOIN Constructor, you really couldn't un-go Constructor. Well, now you can cancel the GOIN Constructor activation, allowing you to, well, end it early. And now when it ends, it knocks back nearby enemies, giving you plenty of time to escape. That's interesting, because Archer found that it did area of effect damage, but I don't actually think it does any damage, because it doesn't list any here, and I can actually pull this up right now. I don't remember if it was exactly this video, but, oh, it might have been a different video. I'll probably just cut this into editing so my jankiness isn't shown here, but I have it right here. At the end of my ability, it didn't even hurt the baby zombies. So yeah, no editing on my part necessary there. I got it in time, but it didn't do any extra damage. But it does knock the enemies back, so that's kind of cool. Allows you to get away. I think that's the intent there. And this alludes to the fact that other similar abilities will potentially be getting this feature soon, which means minigun and lefty and righty should soon be cancelable, which is great because anybody who's ever used minigun before knows how insanely powerful of an ability it is, and you'll also know that because of that power, you'll eliminate a crowd of enemies and you'll just be stuck there holding a minigun for 10, 15 seconds, waiting for it to go away so you can continue running and building and, gee, I don't know, playing the game. Lefty and Ready was another ability that suffered from this. It lasts for a super long time. And, you know, that's great in some areas, but sometimes you just want to put your gun away. So, yeah. When raised, the shield now applies a taunt similar to Decoy, and taunting husks will make them focus on you instead of your builds, and teamwork is key. So that is definitely another thing I can show. I think that's actually why I was dead in that clip earlier. I was testing a couple of things here, and you can see just how quickly I died. My health is just draining instantly, and this is not how this ability is intended to be used, but yeah. Basically, every zombie focused on me, which is why I died so fast. But Archer has a fantastic clip here with a little bit of confusion. I'll get into a bit in the future here, but Taunt also applies a 675 armor boost, which with his build here made a 160 smasher look like nothing. This was just barely even hurting him. His health was going up, which confused us a lot. His support, you're showing Vigor here. Were you using Vigor in this build, Archer?
I think I was, but it wasn't long enough to, trigger the effect.
Well, it was our understanding that he was using this build as shown here, which Saurian Instinct shouldn't have healed for the amount of damage here. Anyway, that's just a side note. I have no idea where he was getting the health from, but you can see that with that right-click ability, right-click taunt ability active, you can see the area of effect here, much like a decoy. That smasher was doing like basically no damage. Obviously, I was getting swarmed. That was a bad example in my encampment footage there, but in a regular mission, that should be a really, really nice feature. And when you're not holding that shield, you still have a 75 armor bonus when you used to get 0. For those who don't know how armor works, join the club. They've changed it in a couple of updates. I still don't know it. It's my understanding that 675 armor should make you 6.75 times harder to kill, but I'm probably getting that wrong. I don't know if it scales linearly, if there is an exact formula or somebody has it down to a science. You can comment down below. I will pin it. I don't want to get this wrong, and I don't want to lead people astray. But it's my understanding that 675 is a lot, and 75 armor should make you survive a little bit better, which is great because, as mentioned, you are slow with the Constructor ability, and you can't use your Adrenaline Rush, and you can't stop to eat coconuts, and you can't stop to put down a campfire. So surviving longer with that ability active is definitely nice. And then the grenade loadout I mentioned. So, yeah, before we get on to, gee, I don't know, Sledgehammer coming back, let's get back into what that means. So this is the build that I was kind of working with over here. Black Knight Garridan is, as far as I could find in all of my testing, the only hero in the entire game that actually buffs any amount of GOIN Constructor damage. And as you can see, that is through the Kinetic Overload team perk, which melee knockbacks and staggers trigger this ability, causing 25 base energy damage to nearby enemies, and then etc, etc. And that is not a major bonus. It's a little bit of extra damage. I got a little bit of footage of it here. You can kind of see it working. It's not huge, but it is something. So you can decide between Black Knight Garridan and Director Riggs, but if you are using Garridan, it allows you to use maximum overload through Steel Wool Sid, increasing your kinetic overload damage by 50%, which again is 50% of an ability that triggers sometimes. It's still damage. It's still nice to have. It makes your GOIN Constructor more powerful, but Riggs in the lead gives you up to a 20-second duration increase, which with Happy Holidays active and the amount of time that can extend it, let's see, 16 seconds plus his 20 seconds gives you a 36-second ability window, which allows for a 34-second cooldown if you let it run out, which is not too bad. 30-second wait time for an ability is pretty big, and as we've shown, there aren't that many heroes that buff GOIN Constructor, so you might have a lot else going on, like maybe I don't know, any other team perk. Let's explain why you might not want these. Saurian Grit did nothing. That's actually why I died in that clip. I'm going to pull it up again, save editing beast some work, and do it live here. In the bottom left here, I'm going up by about 9,000 health from the kinetic overload. You can see at the very end there, I'm sorry I worded that weird, but I go from 5,000 to 14,000 in a flash. It's not a very good bonus. So Saurian Grit was insufficient in keeping me alive, at least in support. So as usual, if you're going to be healing, I recommend popping a coconut, then activating GOIN Constructor. That will heal you at the speed of about 2 campfires, and it should last 30 seconds. So that's definitely the way to go. I know a lot of people accuse me of being a GOIN Coconuts fanboy, but it's like the best team perk it's the best support perk in the game. So I don't know what you want me to tell you. You get a 16% damage bonus, which again, as I've discussed, is probably the most damage buff you're going to get for your ability here. And it heals you, which is a win-win. And as for Gatling Tank, the most useless hero in the game, doesn't work. As far as we can tell, holding right-click on GOIN Constructor just does not work right now. In the future, when this is working, blocking 5 attacks should be easy. You saw how little damage that smasher did. So, Gatling, Tank Gatling here could be a pretty good support perk in the future. I don't want you guys to forget about him, but right now it is my understanding that he is not doing anything. And one other thing I'd like to mention is the fact that if you're using Blast from the Past, which I don't recommend, you definitely want Happy Holidays for the cooldown, you can use Jurassic Ken, hopefully in the future. Yeah, I tested it. I can show the footage now. His 20% ability damage, as tested in my previous video, has not been updated to work with GOIN Constructor. If this changes in the future, I don't know how I'm going to convey that information because I'm not going to make a whole video about just that. But try it for yourself. Load into a game with Fleetfoot Ken. He has the exact same stats. And then load into a game with Jurassic Ken. And if you're doing 20% more, big W, go use him. He should be buffing an ability by 20%, but he's just not. And it's unfortunate to report that, but it is what it is. So yeah, the two heroes that would be great to throw in support are just not working. And I'm actually running Fleetfoot Ken in support here because, like I mentioned several times, you move very slow while this ability is active, and a 12.5% movement speed bonus isn't a lot, but it is something, and I would like to point that out. Now, there could be lots of other heroes. I did do a little bit of testing. Some people got it in their minds that hardware damage does increase the GOIN Constructor damage. That is not something I found to be true. It would be really cool. Hey, Magist, Epic, if you're hearing this, I know that GOIN Constructor is not technically a melee. I know it's classed as an ability, or should be, since Ken's not working. I don't know what's up there. But buffing hardware damage by, hardware damage buffing GOIN Constructor wouldn't be a bad change in my opinion. Maybe I'm missing something obvious, but it'd be pretty cool to see that ability get buffed. However, I do realize that it is already doing a lot of damage and doesn't really need a damage bonus. I'm just saying, could be cool. I like this ability and I like to see it improved. And I do like the fact that, seeing as we don't have a lot of heroes buffing GOIN Constructor, most of the heroes you see listed here are unnecessary, and seeing as we're working with constructors here, maybe you could throw on like base Kyle and support, buff your base, maybe get power base going and support. All of these things would be nice and allow for you to not only defend the base, but be distracting the enemies with GOIN Constructor. So yeah. Pretty cool. Not gonna lie. This gives me a lot more to think about and a lot more to talk about than grenades. That change was not as exciting, but I'm not certain if GOIN Constructor is there. A lot of the perks surrounding it are bugged, which is unfortunate, but yeah. Speaking of which, Major Oswald, I've been told, is bugged, but seeing as his Warcry ability just snares enemies, I've never even found that to be remotely useful, so I haven't tested it myself. I know that's way off topic, but I'm pretty sure his perk isn't working. There's a guy who keeps commenting it. You know who you are, and I figured I should get that in there. Tactical Assault Sledgehammer. Archer, if you're still in voice, am I crazy? Has it been like 2 years since he's returned? Am I completely losing my mind? Because I don't remember Sledgehammer coming back.
He came back last year.
He came back last year? Because I'm pretty sure if I would have made a video on it.
Last year was the first time in 2 years, I'm pretty sure.
I don't even have a home base report with him in the title, and I would have done that. Well, if I'm right, it's been over 2 years. If you're right, it's still been like one return in the last 2 or 3 years, and he's literally one of the best heroes in the entire game. He is right up there with Ramirez as the best soldier in the entire game for buffing assault and SMG damage. He is buffing it through the crits. That's why you always see me using Ramirez in the lead. I prefer a 50% damage bonus all around, and as I'll bring Magist up again, because he writes these home base reports. He's one of those epic guys that does that kind of thing. He was in the stream chat one time and let us know that Ranger Deadeye is his preferred hero of choice. And I've actually switched sides because he gives you the same 50% damage bonus as Ramirez if you're using an SMG, and he is a Teddy. So, shoot, I supercharged him. And also, some of you will know this already, but Sledgehammer is also kind of same as Beetlejuice. She buffs pistols and SMGs, he buffs assault weapons and SMGs, and they both give you that 225% damage bonus. If you're using Totally Rockin' Out, Sledgehammer is the best hero in the entire game for Totally Rockin' Out. That 225% damage bonus with a huge crit rating buff from that team perk is a wild combination and will melt anything in front of you. I don't use it a lot because that team perk is finicky to activate and I find it annoying, and I don't like being a glass cannon because, as you saw in that encampment, I die quick. So I prefer Blast from the Past, but if you're using Totally Rockin' Out, he is a monster. Definitely pair him in every assault and SMG build you use ever, because you want him. This is not a hero you want to miss, and it's unfortunate that they're only really giving us about you'll be giving us like a couple weeks to grab him, which just sucks. He'll be out on the 21st of August. definitely be ready for that. I'll make a video when he goes live. And
He came back last year on the exact same day.
perfect. Okay, so it's been a year since we've seen him. A couple of hit the road stuff. I'm kind of gonna skip it. I'm not wildly interested in this. You can read this and pause it if you're interested. But the hot mix is also returning. Very, very strong pistol. I'll link the video down below. It's way better than you might think. It performs more like an SMG. And for those of you who stuck to the end, I'm doing this at the end, not only because it didn't come up naturally and because I hate this team perk and it annoys me, Boom Bass got an unexpected buff. So I will add one more thing, actually, just because it's at the bottom of the report here. Hey, does anybody hear a guitar riff? Seems like another home base hero is on the way, is basically what he's saying. Lars is the guy who does the Ride Lightning. He drives that thing. He is, I think that's him, right? Is getting a starter pack. So that'll be cool. Locking more home base heroes.
He's a reskin of Power Pop Penny.
What does she do?
She's the hammer rock and riff.
Oh, so she's yeah, she'll come up in a second here. I'll show her. So what I wanted to say, before I so rudely interrupted myself, was Boom Bass got a buff in the sense that, let me lay out how this works. In fact, I had a whole hero loadout cleared, and I don't know why I just did this to myself. I kind of want to just double check. Okay, yeah, I think I cleared this one. So, Boom Bass got an unexpected buff, because previously, he was buffed by the Steel Wool heroes. That was Steel Wool, I don't actually know his name off the top of my head. Carlos, Sid, and the chick, and Steel, this guy. I don't know all their names, because these are very useless heroes, but these guys all had dead perks, meaning you're running a Constructor in order to put the Boom Bass down, and the only people that buff it are a Warcry hero, a Phase Shift hero, who is now counting apparently, you've got a Seismic Smash hero, and the only one that actually made any kind of sense sometimes was Steel Wool Sid. So, and that's only buffing Kinetic Overload. What I'm getting to here is Kinetic Overload from Steel Wool Sid was the only perk that gave you any kind of bonus while activating Boom Bass, which meant that you needed a minimum of 1 dead perk every time you used the Boom Bass. And if you're someone like me who didn't even use Kinetic Overload, you had 2 dead perks, which kind of sucked because you got a 12% damage bonus and a 15 crit rating, which is basically like Whiteout Fiona in support, for all weapons, ranged weapons, melee weapons, and then everything in between, because I just said like 2 categories that cover like 600 weapons. Boom Bass is a good perk. Other than blowing out my ears whenever you're in my lobby, it actually gives you a lot of bonuses, and it is now buffed by all of the rad heroes, the totally rocking out heroes. So you got Battle Beat, you got Shredder, you got Power Pop Penny, the chick we were just talking about. She now buffs Boom Bass. So if you're running a hardware, you can now use her. If you're running an axe, you can use Dennis Jr. If you're running any ranged weapon, or literally any weapon at all, you can use Battle Beat, which is now, in my opinion, the top Boom Bass support hero. She is just a great hero in general. And I think Subwoofers is the other universal one. If you're trying to use a ranged weapon, maybe take care of, Sledgehammer being back, I have built this like an offensive Constructor build. I did my very typical assault crit damage, assault damage, and we got the GOIN coconuts as per usual. You can swap that out for literally anything. We are using a Boom Bass after all, so we have base Kyle in the lead. Maybe you want to do a little bit of power modulation and support. I like to flex a power base Kenny, but power base Nox is the base game alternative. He does the exact same thing. He'll heal your base while base Kyle makes it stronger. You're also going to get some assault weapon bonuses, or if you're using a melee, you can sort of just change to whatever you think would fit best for your playstyle. My point is, Boom Bass now has a lot of diversity with all of these rad heroes and no longer requires you to have a dead perk, which is really, really satisfying to see. And yeah, I wish you could turn off the music of Boom Bass, but other than that, giving your whole team a bunch of crit rating and damage is a really nice bonus to have. So yeah, other than all that extra information, that should be probably the longest home base video I've made to date. So I hope you guys enjoyed. This one took a lot of work. I've been streaming for like an hour and a half or something, just talking to people in chat, getting this all figured out so that I can make this hopefully understandable to some of you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully we'll get some good news in the future. Twitch link down below. Subscribe if you're new. I'll see you guys in the next one. And then